So let's loop back to something we touched on earlier, over-the-air updates. So this is where the hardware and the software come together in firmware, and it's becoming more and more common and even expected, and dare I say it, a design tool to implement OTA. How do you view OTA, and how would you advise customers to use it?
Everyone's quiet immediately.
So take all the time you need to think about it.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, I would be reluctant.
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely, it's definitely a tool that you're going to use to fix bugs and roll out new features and things like that. I personally wouldn't rely on it early on to fix critical bugs, right? I mean, every organization needs to have their quality standards, and you need to meet those quality standards before you roll anything out, right? Whatever that standard is.
Yeah, you're right. It's a really critical tool and really helpful to kind of tweak the design. But if you don't get, going back to a point before, if you don't get the security right and the able to open and close that door properly right at the beginning, you can let people in, and that causes havoc for your company. So it's something that you probably want to kind of use later on within the system. You want to get it all right first before you kind of rely on that as the escape, really. Fixing those little bugs. It's if you don't get the security right on that, you're going to be in trouble.
I think OTA, in all honesty, OTA is very hard, and there's at certain companies one engineer who's just responsible for OTA. Believe it or not, it's that big of a scenario. It reminds me of a discussion I had with a gray hat hacker at a RSA conference. I asked him his opinion on all these autonomous cars are coming out. It's wonderful, but from his side, it's great business because it's greenfield for all the hackers that'll come out, and then all the gray hackers that needs to have them thwarted. So from his view, OTA is wonderful because it's one of the lesser known, more complex topics in design engineering, believe it or not. And I think even now the autonomous car industry is really still not ready for it, right? Once those cars roam around, once it's in the wild, it's very hard to fix. Very, very hard.
So if you don't prototype anything else, make sure you prototype your over-the-air updates and make sure it's secure.
Exactly.
I think OTA can often be, it gives a connotation that you have a product deployed in the field and you have to deliver updates to that over the network, which is often, that's the main use case. But we're seeing a newer use case now. It's not just the remote work office that COVID has brought, but it's the expense of prototype, honestly. Our group develops 5G and millimeter wave applications, and the equipment, just the equipment alone for testing that is millions of dollars. So you have to, there's no just like a $50 USB attached scope and you're going to do the work. It's not a reality anymore. So our team works remotely, and we've got a remote lab where we've got prototype device under test sitting around millions of dollars of test equipment. And there we're doing over the wire, I guess, technically, over the wire network updates as we're prototyping and testing different versions of software, pieces of hardware. So it's actually, I mean, it's part of my daily routine in prototyping to do OTA and OTW updates.